Did you see my friend and yours, Bob Iger, had some things to say on? I think it was an earnings call. I think it was the Q2 earnings call for Disney.
I didn't. I'm more involved in like the spies and rumor mills of what's been happening at these LucasArts meetings. I'm sorry, Lucasfilm meetings. But
If only LucasArts was still a thing.
well, with a change of leadership, who knows what the future holds?
So there's a lot of rumors. Indiana Jones failing on top of everything else Disney has done that's horrifically failed. It has been recently revealed they've lost $1 billion total on all of their recent flops, and streaming has lost them $4 billion. And they
Oops.
and
Again,
they are
that section of his autobiography where he was really just patting himself on the back for being the wild prophet to foresee the future of streaming and Disney Plus's dominance, sparing no expense in programming and how it's been the key to the future, aging like fine wine.
And here we are, and Bob Iger's going on earnings calls talking about how they're scrambling for cash, and they're going to be making less Marvel stuff, and they're going to be making less Star Wars stuff, and they've got to reevaluate their strategies when it comes to their brands, and a lot of that retrenchment talk. And I mean, let's face it, they have axed almost everyone south of Kevin Feige in the Marvel, racket at the top.
Victoria Alonso got it. She was a big name to go down.
Ike Perlmutter got canned as
Well, he got I mean, his real mistake was backing Chapek and who's the other investor activist that was trying to force his way onto the board.
I'm
But he
afraid
was
I don't know that.
part of this conservative element
Gotcha.
that was really like, hey, get back to basics. He put a target on himself.
And then they also fired their head of DEI at Marvel.
Which is interesting that they didn't eliminate the position. They just got rid of her. And she is the one that was the brainchild of the Reimagine Tomorrow, which got them a lot of heat. Her and Victoria Alonso also very vocal going after Chapek there. Let me just stop and say something right now. Disney has put the most riveting and suspenseful entertainment out for consumption over the past 2 years, and it's amazing that it's all happening from a corporate angle and not any of their actual like produced programming.
It reminds me of our days in our old hobby where engaging in the hobby was less satisfying than the politics of the people who were running it. And we often enjoyed indulging in the interpersonal
Absolutely.
hot politics of running the place.
I get off work and I'm
Gina.
so fast to jump onto YouTube and check all of my basically like gossip tabloids for like rumors and this and that. Who's getting fired? It's just, especially the past 2 months, everything really after they fired Chapek has just been edge of the seat deliciousness. I love the downfall of Chapek, seemingly at the hands, the Kingslayer, Catherine McCarthy, right, the chief financial officer.
Yep.
Chapek got axed while it was on like weekend. He was, I think, at the John Elton concert.
That is correct.
And they had this
Elton
emergency.
John, yeah.
I'm sorry,
in
Elton
LA.
John. They had an emergency board meeting. And Chapek, it seemed like he had really stacked the board in his favor too. I forget what the previous chairman's name was. It was this lady, but they had just renewed his contract, right?
Correct.
Which is a huge vote of confidence in the expectation that he was going to start cleaning house on Disney and trying to get him back on track. He gets fired. There's a lot of suspicion that has something to do with, was it CFX?
Oh, FTX.
FTX, right? And it's still not clear why that none of that's been disclosed. And I'm guessing he got a lot of shut up money that he was smart enough to just take. But his dismissal, again, this Kingslayer, Catherine McCarthy, the CFO, Iger steps back in, I think he's still actually the chairman of the board as well right now, correct?
I think so, yes.
Hey, our number one priority right now is to find a new Disney president, CEO, and there's wild talk about grooming Catherine McCarthy to replace him. And then 4 weeks, maybe a month ago, she all of a sudden is vacating the position to spend more time with her family, which is Hollywood code for either you leave or we're going to fire you and smear you on the way out. Wink, wink, Kathleen Kennedy.
I mean, you don't be the CFO of an organization that lost millions of dollars and not lose your fucking job.
I think
if you're charge of the finances and the finances suck, regardless if there's like an FTX thing or like lost cash or whatever, like just you made poor investment choices.
I think there's way more going on there because she was firmly in the Bob Iger like Super Friends camp. So I think there's deeper shit going on there. Anyways, you jump to what's going on now with what you're talking about with Iger, and then meanwhile over at Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy's basically been put on paid leave for 2 weeks. Her email is bouncing, right? So if you email Kathleen Kennedy, it bounces, but it has not been deleted. Basically, her email has been seized, and there's corporate auditors tearing that place apart right now, and there's the strong evidence that there is massive mishandling and misappropriation of funds bordering on embezzling.
Ooh.
So she is fucked and her whole inner coterie is fucked. And it's so exciting to like wait for these fucking heads to start rolling.
Oh man, I did not know about that, but that would be delicious. That the idea that the reason why this ruling cadre at Lucasfilm has spent what seems like an impossible amount of money to make these projects is that it's going into the pockets of all of these production partners they have.
So they're talking like
deals.
lavish. They're talking lavish parties and like cars and like unapproved expenses. But the bigger concern is like, hey, here's X amount of money for Mandalorian season 3. Okay, we're going to take, X amount off of that and we're going to push it towards the Acolyte. Yeah, the Acolyte, right?
Correct.
That's the big money. And I want to say it's like 300 million or something ridiculous. Gosh, what's her name? It was Kennedy's understudy.
Oh, the one that, yeah, I heard that she's
Leslie
Headland. The one that used to be one of the Weinstein's production assistants, yeah.
She just got a order. You got 72 hours to get back in here with your documents and explain these expenses, like just all sorts of misappropriated funds is what the rumors are saying right now. But Iger has some rolling crew that's coming and seize control. They've redirected all of the direct reports in the building to go through these guys, and Lucasfilm is under the microscope. So who knows what's going to happen? I don't think there's any direction to go at this point except for up. All of the franchises are burning in space.
They literally have killed every Lucasfilm IP. Like, Star Wars is dead, Indy's dead, Willow's dead. There's nothing left in that portfolio they bought. So they've ruined it all. So at this point, salting the earth, burning it all down, and rebuilding it from the ashes is probably their best bet. But I'll tell you kind of probably what happened with some of this stuff with Leslie Headland and where this money went that no one knows. If this stuff's true, I've seen this play before in my own life. I work in finance, and I'll tell you a story. There was a guy who was a contractor at one of our departments who was contracted as a specialist in securing a more diverse workforce. And it was absolutely a make-work job for a friend of someone at the top who they wanted to have something that they were, quote, doing so that they could get a regular $250,000 check for doing that, quote, work. And they never had to produce anything or show anything. They just had to vaguely state that they were doing these activities in order to get the check every month. And when that got found out, heads absolutely rolled, but it wasn't illegal. It was just clearly scummy as fuck, right? Like,
you can't have a rule just enough for cover. Everything.
Yeah, and I wish I could go into more detail, but obviously I can't do that. I don't want to explain too much for the internet to piece together. But trust me when I say these kinds of things happen at organizations small and large. And the idea that Kathleen Kennedy was paying off all the ladies that are in her pocket with, padded contracts and extra work that they produced, but wasn't actually something they were doing.
Or financing projects that she had been told, no, we're not putting company money
Right.
into this. Let it go.
They put all the money into Mandalorian season 3. They see Mandalorian season 3 and they see it's a piece of shit shot on the volume when none of that money's there. Like, you can see the difference between that and Andor, right? Like, Andor looks like it was expensive. There's good actors in it. There's sets. There's like real physical objects that were made. Like, you can see the production value. But for Mandalorian season 3, it looks comedically cheap. And if you know you spent X and you got Y, you're like, where'd the rest of that go? And if Kathleen Kennedy was sneaking out the back door to use the production surplus, the budget savings to shoot something else that she wasn't told she was allowed to do, because we did it cheap, you did it over here, we were a little expensive, so we're casting this, we're shooting this, we're using this extra money, we're very efficient, and you're the suits who are like, no, you were supposed to spend it on that because that was the only good thing we had fucking coming, and you fucked that into the dirt, and now you're making this absolutely unpublishable garbage with the rest of this money at the same time that you're putting extra cash in the pockets of your friends, throwing big parties and giving them all the benefits of the highest level lifestyle possible. 100% I believe that could possibly be what's going on. Yes.
The other consideration with her squaring off with Iger, and there's so much good drama there, like him pulling her in. And this is all internet rumor, right? Like,
right, we're speculating. We have no truth to any of this.
I'm regurgitating what I've seen in other places, and if you want to get deeper into that, it's not hard to find, Midnight's Edge, DVD Overlord, these other guys out there. She had a couple come to Jesus talks when Iger got back in power, because prior to that, her and Chapek did not get along at all, and the thought everybody had was that, well, Iger's got her back. And that certainly was not the case when Iger came back in and saw how bad the earnings were looking. She was given an option to exit gracefully. This last Star Wars celebration was supposed to be like her Viking funeral pyre, where it's just everybody talking about how great she was, how many doors she opened, a new age, blah, blah, blah. And then she was supposed to be out. And instead she got up on stage, went off script, talked about this new Rey movie to continue pushing the new sequel trilogy stuff to continue.
She needs to universe. Solidify that somehow, or they're going to erase it the moment she's gone.
Complete nonsense, things that she was told, no, these aren't going to happen, and just basically spit in Iger's eye. So that's why this hammer's dropping hard. And the plans to start reining Lucasfilm in and take her out of power were already rolling after this indie botch. But now that they've discovered alleged evidence that there's misappropriation of funds, I think
if they find real malfeasance, then they can actually fire her for cause that isn't just she made shit movies. Because you don't want to, you can't fire her for that, because if you do that, then you make naked
invite
the lie.
Lawsuits.
Yeah, your public image is going to take a huge hit because you've been pumping her up and pumping her up and pumping her up for a decade.
And she can say, hey, listen, everybody shit the bed this round. Quantum Media was trash. Look at nothing Disney is working out right now except for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So show me who you're firing at Pixar. Show me who you're firing at Marvel. I'm the only person who's being fired. I'm a woman. This is sexy. Like that's step one. Step two is Kathleen Kennedy's been doing this for 50 years, 40 years,
yeah,
something
she's like
crazy.
70 years old. Yeah.
So, the expectation that she has a U-Haul storage shed full of blackmail that she can deploy, that's the real excitement there.
And then she gets discredited, though, if she's like a financial criminal, right? That's
sure.
what they're hoping.
And that's why I think you're seeing the real strong plays are going to start rolling out now, because there's real meat to sink the fangs into. It's not just superficial blows.
I am very interested to see what happens at the other studios as well. I know some people at Pixar did get canned. Like that whole contingent that was making some of this garbage, like Raya the Last Dragon and Elemental, and some of the stuff that just did not achieve liftoff at all. Those guys are out over there. So there have been heads rolling in other parts. Like there's been some Marvel heads to go. I think that shoe has not yet dropped, and it won't drop until I think they suffer through having to release the Marvels. I think that is going to be their Indy 5 moment, where they just have a bomb so bad it finally allows the suits to come in and gut the studio. Because their last movie was what? It was Guardians 3, and that worked great. That was the last one they put out.
So Quantumania came out before Guardians?
Correct.
Right. But, Iger's other statements that they're going to reduce the production quantity, that's absolutely the right thing. Like, you've put so much trash out, you've lost so many people, you really need to focus. You need Mandalorians across the board. You need competent people that are telling good stories, that understand what the fans want, which good luck, because as a fan, I can't even tell you what the fuck I want. There's discussion that there's a emergency escape hatch that Marvel has that boils down to everything you've seen since Infinity War has been alternate timeline 1, which is the Hulk's snap. And that's why it's been so female heavy, is because he was so preoccupied with trying to bring back Black Widow that like women living was on his mind. And that's, tainted this timeline. And then there's timeline 2, which is Tony Stark's snap, where they want to pick back up with everybody alive. The band is still together and try to relatch onto the primary Avengers storytelling device and mulligan everything that has been post Avengers Endgame, which is so riddled with plot holes. But you know what? If you go back that far, if you cut that much of the rod off, I'm willing to listen. If I can watch fucking Star Trek and move through these plot hole riddled episodes, I can certainly get on board with a Marvel decision like that.
I think one of the key failures of their approach in the post Endgame world was thinking that they had to kill off characters instead of recast them with new actors. So this was the decision they made when they killed off Iron Man and they aged out Steve Rogers, right? Like, these guys have done this for as long as we can ask them to do it. They as actors have aged significantly such that killing their characters off at some point here makes sense.
Or they're too expensive.
Yeah, they should have just recast them. Tony Stark can be like James Bond. He can just be a different actor who is portraying the character. They've already done it once, twice. The Hulk isn't played by the original actor. Neither is War Machine.
Rhodes, yep.
So clearly there's a capacity there to go out and get someone else if you really need to.
And I'll tell you what else. Even if you did not have, even if there would not have been legitimate fan buy-in to recasting Tony Stark, like the big players.
Mm-hmm.
How long has it been since Endgame? 6
2019.
Years? Even if there would not have been buy-in then, I think now that people have seen how bad things can get, you certainly will have that willingness for buy-in now, if you can find the right charismatic person to follow up Robert Downey Jr. and some of these other guys.
Sure. Unless you want more Shang-Chi, and their inability to peel the fucking Spider-Man rights off of Sony was a generational mistake. I don't know. That deal was on the table at some point. They just needed to pay enough to get it.
I'm glad they weren't able to, because Sony has been able to put out good Spider-Man content while Marvel has been dying on the vine.
Well, I do agree in part. No Way Home was great. Across the Spider-Verse and Into the Spider-Verse were both excellent. This is also the company that made Morbius. And did you see the trailer for Kraven the Hunter? It's not getting better. So
Venom was a fucking travesty as well.
Yeah, they've got plenty of failures as well. They've just managed some big hits because they've been willing to let people just kind of try shit, do something interesting. And,
or maybe they've said, hey, Disney can put your writers in to handle this property, and we also have the right to tell them no on things. And maybe it's a situation like Picard season 1 and season 2 where somewhere in Disney, there's someone who is saying yes that should be saying no to things, and the result is
Yeah.
content on screen that has nothing to do with the story and is ultimately ruining the fun and making garbage.
They are overextended. They've got labor strikes going on. They are in full retrenchment mode, trying to find like foreign shows and reality TV and game shows to run and pump out content for a while. They want to literally starve these people out in these contract negotiations, and you bet your ass that the bloodless ghouls that are in these suits of these companies, they've waited. They've endured all of this woke stuff. They know their moment is now to finally find all of these people and execute Order 66, and you best believe that it's going to happen.
Well, I want to know, what's that doing to Kurtzman? What's that doing to Bad Robot? Unfortunately, he just had all his shit extended. Still don't see anything for whatever the hell the Titan Adventures are supposed to be.
And we see, though, that that's also meaningless, right? They renewed Prodigy only to not show it and then delete it. They renewed they created all these shows that may not ever be made. Like, these designations don't matter, and Kurtzman's extension ultimately also doesn't matter.
Maybe.
Because in the end, there are ways out of all of these contracts, and the longer things go
but
on
listen,
where nothing happens, the more force majeure is going to be something they can wield.
The way out is money. You can break a contract if you're willing to fucking pay it.
True.
They just extended Chapek, Disney's CEO, out 2 years and then turned around and fired him like a month and a half later. Disney had money. Paramount doesn't. Paramount doesn't have the boatloads of cash that we all thought that Disney actually did have. And we'll see what happened once Comcast and this Hulu thing fucking gets real.
And the only thing Paramount has going for them is that their movies are actually the good ones. What they released, Top Gun Maverick. What else have they released? Mission Impossible. Like, biggest movies of the year.
That's the power of Scientology, Joe. Those Thetans, they put asses in seats.
And if you would like to cleanse your Thetans, you can like, share, and subscribe here. Really appreciate it, everybody. Thanks.